Alright, Chagiga, Daf Chaf Vav and Chaf Zayin, reporting to you live from Tzfat, Yer Kodesh. Look at this beautiful panoramic view. We're here for Shabbos. So, so the last daf and a half, I'm going to do Chaf Vav and Chaf Zayin. Really just continues the theme that we were talking about how Amei Haaretz, or there are certain leniencies that we allow the handling of kachim, but not truma. And the big one is mainly with regard to Amei Haaretz, that we trust them when it comes to handling big pots, but not small pots. So, the opposite, small pots, but not big pots. So basically, we learn, first of all, the Mishnah just explains that it has to do it anywhere in Yerushalayim. Amei Haaretz can handle small pots. And then on Regalim itself, even like big pots, we trust Amei Haaretz. So the question is, why such a leniency? The answer is because we don't want to have to create like a need to have to build these things in Yerushalayim, because we don't want to blacken the walls of Yerushalayim with these kilns. It's not like a pleasant thing, and there's already not enough space in Yerushalayim as it is. Then we have other Mishnayos here which talk about there's a brief machlokes, sorry, I forgot to mention, just Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan. When you talk about small pots, what does that mean? Does it refer that, like Reish Lakish says, you have to actually carry it with one hand, and if it takes two hands to carry, then it's no good, which means that it's subjective to how strong you are. Or Rabbi Yochanan says, no, if it's a pot that you use like for basic food, then you don't need, then it's small, and if you use it for something larger, then it's big. We have a few other Mishnayos on today's daf as well that talk about similar ideas, just because we're talking about trusting Amei Haaretz on Shalosh Regalim. So one of them says, although we do trust Amei Haaretz on Shalosh Regalim, but so there are two other milos that talk about that truma over kachim. One of them being if thieves break into your house and then return your pots. And the second one being if tax collectors break into your house and take your pots, or they don't take anything but they're just in your house. The question is, are the kalim tamei or not? So we say you can use those kalim for you can use those kalim for kachin, but you can't use those kalim for truma. So the question is, we have brisas in both that say that you can't use those kalim at all. The nekudas hamachlokes when it comes to tax collectors is if they're non-Jews and present, then we know that they're going to do a much more thorough job. I'm like shivering because it's so cold. So that explains the tax collectors, and then in terms of the thieves, so we have, I think the question is, do we trust them or do we not trust them? The nekudas hamachlokes is whether or not they did teshuva or not. Then we're just going to finish off with a couple of other mishnayos that have to do with selling things after the rego. The Mishnah talks about that. Like let's say we trust Amei Haaretz during the rego, but what about after the rego? Is the stuff that they sold, or is the stuff that I sold but Amei Haaretz touched, is that tahor or not? Can you save it till the next year? And then there's another Mishnah that says, okay, since we know that all these Amei Haaretzim are coming through Yerushalayim, through the Beis HaMikdash, during the Shalosh Regalim, as soon as they leave, there has to be like a massive tahara process where they have to purify all the kalim in the Beis HaMikdash so they're ready again. And one Mishnah says you don't do that on Thursday because there's not enough time, or Friday, but otherwise you bring out all the kalim in the Mikdash and you retire them. Then there's another Mishnah after that explains more practically. They had backups of all the kalim just in case, the ones that couldn't be tahor, mitzahered, there were backups, like the shulchan. Then there's a whole machlokes there. What about the shulchan? Can it be mitzaher? The Mishnah says that the shulchan cannot be mitar, so they have to be very careful not to let Amei Haaretz deal with it. So then